It was a cold Friday evening, January 12th, 2024. Funny how ordinary days can carry the weight of secrets so heavy they can crush an entire life. I remember sitting in my car, staring at the glow of streetlights, and asking myself, is this really happening to me? Or am I losing my mind? You see, when you share a home, a bed, and a life with someone for years, you never expect betrayal to be the gift they hide behind their smiles. I thought I had a loyal husband, a man I could trust with my heart. Turns out I was sleeping next to a stranger, one who thought he was clever enough to play me. But here's the twist. He had no idea who he was up against. I'm not here to cry about being the victim. No. I'm here to tell you how I caught him, how I planned my revenge step by step, and how I turned his little game into the biggest mistake of his life. And let me warn you, what I did wasn't just payback. It was the ultimate payback. But before I let you in on all the secrets, take a second, hit that like button and subscribe. Because trust me, you won't want to miss what happens next. Now, let me take you back to the night when suspicion first whispered in my ear. Before all the chaos, my life looked perfect, at least from the outside. We had the nice 2-story house with the white fence, the shiny cars parked neatly in the driveway, and the weekend barbecues that made the neighbors jealous. To anyone watching, we were that couple. You know the type, the ones people point at and say, now that's what marriage should look like. And honestly, for a while I believed it too. My husband, let's just call him Daniel, was charming. The kind of man who could light up a room with his smile and have everyone hanging on his words. He worked hard, provided for us, and always had a joke ready when life felt heavy. To friends and family, he was the dream guy. To me, he was supposed to be my safe place. Our evenings were simple. Dinner at the table, him scrolling on his phone, me talking about my day. And I'll admit, I often ignored the little silences, the way his eyes seemed more on the screen than on me. I brushed it off as stress, work, or maybe just routine. After all, marriage isn't a fairy tale every day, right? But here's the funny thing about pretending everything is fine. It eats away at you. Deep down, something always feels off. I'd wake up at night and watch him sleeping, and instead of peace, I felt this strange chill, like I didn't fully know the man beside me. Looking back now, I realize those were the warning signs. The tiny cracks in the glass before it shatters. But at the time I was blind. I wanted so badly to believe in the picture-perfect life we had built. I ignored the whispers of doubt inside me. I told myself, stop being paranoid. You're lucky to have him. If only I knew then how wrong I was. Because soon those whispers would grow louder, and the perfect little world I thought I had, it was about to crumble. Fast. It started small. So small I almost laughed at myself for even noticing. One Tuesday night, Daniel came home later than usual. He blamed traffic, tossed his jacket on the chair, and kissed me on the forehead like nothing happened. But his phone? He kept it glued to his hand, face down on the counter, like it was carrying state secrets. At first I brushed it off. Everyone's glued to their phones these days, right? But then the late nights became routine. Work deadlines, he'd say. Meetings ran late. And while his excuses stacked up, my trust slowly chipped away. The real crack came one Saturday morning. I walked past the bathroom and caught him whispering into the phone, door locked, water running. When he finally came out, I asked, "Who was that?" He smiled, casual, too casual. "Oh, just a client," but my gut twisted. Clients don't make you hide in the bathroom like a teenager sneaking a call. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. Why didn't you just confront him right then and there? But here's the thing. Confrontation without proof is just noise. And if Daniel was hiding something, I wanted more than noise. I wanted certainty. So I started watching. Tiny things, nothing dramatic. I noticed he started wearing cologne for work. He upgraded his wardrobe out of nowhere. His laughter, the kind that used to fill our living room, was now saved for whoever lived on the other end of that phone. And me, I became invisible. Dinner conversations turned into one-word replies. His phone never left his pocket, not even at night. He started sleeping with it under his pillow, as if the screen might whisper his secrets out loud while he slept. I'll admit, paranoia consumed me. I'd lie awake, staring at the ceiling, wondering if I was imagining it all. Maybe I was overthinking. Maybe I was insecure? But then I remembered something my mother once told me. When a woman feels it in her bones, it's usually true. That thought haunted me. It kept me awake. It followed me at work, at the grocery store, even when I was trying to smile at friends. Every moment of doubt was a knife twisting deeper. And then came the slip-up. One evening, Daniel was in the shower, and his phone buzzed on the nightstand. Normally it was locked tight. But this time, the screen lit up just enough for me to see a name I didn't recognize, followed by a heart emoji. My blood ran cold. That was the moment suspicion turned into reality. The whispers in my head were no longer whispers. They were screaming, and from that day on, I knew. I wasn't just a wife anymore. I was a detective in my own home. That one message with the heart emoji lit a fire inside me. My hands shook, my chest pounded, and a voice in my head screamed, "This is it. This is the proof," but still I needed more. I wasn't about to blow up my entire life over one careless notification. So I waited, patient, quiet, watching every move like a hunter stalking its prey. The next few days were torture. He grew bolder. Late nights that stretched past midnight. Excuses that didn't even sound believable anymore. And me? I played the part of the oblivious wife, smiling, cooking dinner, asking about his day, while inside my stomach churned with rage. And then came the night everything shattered. It was Thursday. He told me he had a work dinner, but something about the way he said it, too casual, too rehearsed, set me off. After he left, I grabbed my keys and followed. My heart raced so hard I thought it might give me away. I trailed his car across town until he pulled into a little Italian restaurant, not exactly a business meeting spot. From my car, I watched him step out, straighten his jacket, and then, there she was, a younger woman dressed to kill, eyes sparkling as she leaned in for a kiss. And just like that, my world cracked open. It wasn't whispers anymore. It wasn't paranoia. It was betrayal, live and in color, right in front of me. I can't explain the cocktail of emotions that hit me. Rage so hot it burned my skin. Sadness so deep it made my chest ache. But above all, clarity. I stayed hidden, watching them laugh, clink glasses, lean across the table like two teenagers drunk on love. The man who promised me forever was sharing it with someone else. I remember gripping the steering wheel so tight my knuckles went white. A part of me wanted to storm in, flip the table, and scream until the whole restaurant knew the truth. But another voice whispered in my ear, "No. Don't give him the satisfaction of seeing you broken. Save it. Use it." So I didn't confront him. Not that night. Instead, I snapped photos, enough to end every lie he ever told me, enough to expose him for the fraud he really was. When I finally drove home, I wasn't the same woman who had left. I wasn't the trusting wife anymore. I was someone new, someone sharper, stronger, and ready. Because betrayal hurts. But betrayal also awakens something fierce. And that night, I swore to myself. Daniel had no idea what storm was coming. Driving home that night, pictures of Daniel with his client burning in my phone, I realized something important. He thought he was in control. He thought he was the clever one, sneaking around, living a double life. But that illusion was about to end. I wasn't going to cry in a corner. I wasn't going to scream or beg. No, if Daniel wanted to play games, then I was about to become the master player. The plan started small. I kept acting normal. Breakfast on the table, goodnight kisses, the usual routine. Why? Because I wanted him comfortable. The more relaxed he felt, the bigger his fall would be. And trust me, I was planning a fall so brutal he'd never recover. Step 1. Information. I dug into everything. Bank statements, emails, credit card bills. You'd be shocked how sloppy cheaters are. Fancy dinners, hotel stays, little gifts. He left a paper trail like breadcrumbs leading straight to his betrayal. Each receipt was another nail in his coffin. Step 2. Allies. Quietly, I looped in a lawyer friend, someone I trusted. Divorce wasn't on Daniel's radar, but it was on mine. I learned about assets, accounts, how to protect myself, and more importantly, how to take away everything he valued. Not just the house, not just the money, but his reputation. Step 3. Timing. Revenge isn't about rage, it's about patience. And I had the patience of a saint. I waited for his birthday. Why? Because all his friends, coworkers, even family would be there. The perfect stage. The perfect audience. Now I know what you're thinking. Why not just kick him out? Because simple endings don't satisfy. A man who betrays so deeply doesn't deserve a quiet exit. He deserves exposure. He deserves to feel the humiliation, the loss, the shame. And believe me, I wasn't planning just to out him. I was planning to outsmart him. For weeks, I played the role of the doting wife. I let him believe his lies were working. He never noticed me copying documents, never saw me securing accounts in my name, never caught the spark in my eyes when I thought about what was coming. It was almost funny, watching him strut around, thinking he was untouchable, while every step he took was another step into the trap I was building. And as the day of his birthday drew closer, my heart didn't ache anymore. Instead, it raced with anticipation, because soon Daniel would learn the hard way. When you betray a woman who gave you everything, her trust, her love, her loyalty, don't expect her to fall apart. Expect her to rise, and I was about to rise higher than he ever imagined. The night of Daniel's birthday arrived, and he was buzzing with excitement. He thought he was the center of attention, the golden boy surrounded by friends, family, and colleagues. Little did he know, the spotlight was about to burn him alive. I had the house decorated, the food catered, the drinks flowing. Everything looked perfect. Smiles, laughter, music in the background. It was the kind of scene people post online and caption with, "Blessed." But behind my calm smile, I was carrying dynamite. And the match was in my pocket. Daniel walked around the room like a king, hugging people, cracking jokes, clinking glasses. Every so often, he'd glance at me with that smug little grin, the one that said, "She has no idea." Oh, but I did. After dinner, I tapped my glass and said, "Everyone, before we bring out the cake, I have a surprise for Daniel." The room went quiet, curious. Daniel looked at me, confused but amused. He loved being the center of attention. I connected my phone to the TV, and with one simple tap, the slideshow began. At first, it looked innocent. Pictures of vacations, family dinners, happy memories. People smiled, clapped. Daniel relaxed. But then the images shifted, a hotel receipt, a suspicious credit card charge, and finally, photos. Daniel and her, holding hands at the restaurant, leaning in for that kiss, laughing like they had built a world of their own. The room froze. Forks clattered onto plates. A few people gasped out loud. Daniel's face drained of color. He stammered, What is this?" I tilted my head, smiled sweetly, and said, "Your other life, darling. Thought you should share it with everyone who matters." The silence that followed was heavier than a storm. Friends whispered. His mother buried her face in her hands. His coworkers stared in shock. Daniel stood there, cornered, stripped of his mask. And just when he thought it couldn't get worse, I pulled out the final card. "Oh, and before you think you'll talk your way out of this, my lawyer has everything. The house, the accounts, the car. Consider them birthday gifts." To me, the room erupted. Some people laughed nervously. Others shook their heads. Daniel tried to speak, but no words came out. He looked at me like I was a stranger, and maybe in that moment, I was. Because the woman standing before him wasn't his naive wife anymore. She was the storm he never saw coming. And that night, Daniel learned the truth the hard way. The higher the mask, the harder the fall. Daniel stood frozen, his face pale, his mouth opening and closing like a fish out of water. The mighty man who once strutted through life with confidence now looked like a boy caught with his hand in the cookie jar. But here's the twist he never saw coming. My revenge wasn't just about exposing him. It was about dismantling him piece by piece. As the whispers spread through the room, I stepped closer and said, "Daniel, did you really think I'd be blind forever? Did you think I wouldn't notice the late nights, the lies, the cologne that wasn't for me?" My voice was calm, almost too calm, which made it sting even more. He stuttered, It's not what it looks like," and I laughed. A real laugh, sharp enough to slice the air. Not what it looks like? Daniel, everyone can see it's exactly what it looks like. Then came the second part of my plan, the twist. I turned to his co-workers, some of whom had invested in projects with him, and said, "You might want to reconsider your partnerships. Daniel's been financing his little adventures with money that doesn't exactly belong to him." Gasps rippled through the room. His boss's face tightened. A few colleagues exchanged glances, their trust in him collapsing like a house of cards. Daniel lunged toward me, whispering harshly, "You'll regret this." But I didn't flinch. Instead, I leaned in and whispered back, "No, Daniel. You'll regret underestimating me." The climax came when the other woman, yes, she, walked into the party. Clearly, he had invited her too, probably planning to sneak away later. She froze when she saw the screen, the photos, the shocked faces. The tension was so thick you could cut it with a knife. Daniel's double life collided right there in front of everyone. His wife on one side, his mistress on the other, and an audience witnessing the collapse of his perfect little lie. The mistress stormed out in humiliation. His friends and colleagues shook their heads, some leaving quietly, others outright condemning him. His mother refused to look at him, and me? I stood tall, shoulders back, heart racing but steady. I wasn't broken. I wasn't weak. I was victorious. Daniel had walked into his birthday thinking he was invincible. He walked out stripped of his pride, his reputation, his wealth, and his illusions. The man who thought he was playing me had been outplayed in the most public way possible. And that, right there, was the moment I knew. Revenge isn't just sweet. It's unforgettable. That night, after the last guest left and the house grew quiet, I sat alone at the table surrounded by half-eaten cake and empty glasses. The silence felt heavy, but it wasn't the silence of defeat. It was the silence of freedom. Daniel had tried to call me, beg, explain, twist the story in his favor, but the truth was already out there. The man who thought he was untouchable now stood exposed, his lies in ashes. And me? I had reclaimed something far more valuable than revenge. I had reclaimed myself. Here's what I learned. Betrayal is brutal, but it doesn't have to break you. It can sharpen you, fuel you, turn you into someone stronger than you ever imagined. Pain doesn't have to be the end of your story. It can be the fire that writes your next chapter. And to anyone listening right now who has felt the sting of betrayal, let me tell you this. Don't let someone else's disloyalty define your worth. You are not weak for trusting. You are human. But when someone crosses the line, you don't have to crumble. You can rise. You can outsmart. You can win. So, was my payback extreme? Maybe, but it was also necessary. Daniel taught me one final lesson. Never underestimate a woman who has been betrayed, because she will either forgive you or destroy you, and in my case, well, I think you already know the answer. If you enjoyed this story of betrayal and ultimate revenge, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to be reminded of their own strength. Because sometimes the best ending is a brand new beginning.